god of hellfire, and I bring you fire. I'll take you to burn. Fire. I'll take you to learn. I'll see you burn.
I'm just going to have to stop doing intros like that, you know, flames and everything, because, you know, what comes after that? Me. So, but anyway, this video you're about to see, I actually recorded it a while back ago, and my original plan was to do the Hellfire Mini and also to do the Hellfire Dripper, both of which were kindly lent to me by Neill. Now, in the end, with this particular video, I started off with the Mini. It was just getting so long because I tend to just blather on about all sorts of stuff, that I decided to actually do the Hellfire Dripper as a separate video. So this video is just about the Hellfire Mini. And another thing I should say at this stage, which I do mention further into it, and that is that I'm not really a Genesis person. I tend to use silica atomizers. And so for me, first of all, if you're an expert looking to get expert opinion, then perhaps this isn't the video you should be watching. You should be watching Mark or Scott Bonner or someone like that. This is just me reacquainting myself with the Genesis thing, and I just happen to have one of the nicest Genesis atomizers out there to do it with. So it's a bit of an experiment, and it's a bit of an experience. But anyway, that's basically it. Hellfire Mini in this video. There will be another one on the Hellfire Dripper, and hope you enjoy it. Hey everybody, Andrew here. I was contacted a little while back ago by a guy called Neill, who's on one of the Irish Facebook vaping pages. Now Neill would be quite well known for being a hunter, a master hunter even, of the unicorn, and I think he's got a whole bloody herd of them down there. He likes his rare mods, he likes his rare atties, and yeah, I mean, in many cases those unicorns are unicorns for a reason. They're very much handmade, they're very limited in terms of supply, and if they're very good at what they do, then obviously there's a big demand out there for them. So he knows that I am a silica fan. There are, you know, basically I haven't really gone near a Genesis style atomizer, you know, and used mesh and, you know, or stainless steel rope or whatever for quite some time. In the past, you know, I played around with it, but for me silica just always seemed to do it better. It was just, you know, there was other things that was easier for me to use, and plus as well I liked the taste. Maybe it was because I had a couple of bad experiences in the past, you know, in terms of really kind of burny tastes and, you know, very hot vapor, which I don't particularly like. But that was sort of at the beginning of my vaping career, so maybe I know just a tiny bit more now than I did at the time. So what he suggested he would do is send me up a couple of his unicorn atomizers. Genesis style atomizer, and then also a dripper as well. So here they are, and the first one is this here, and this is a Hellfire Mini, and this is the new series which has got the hourglass. I don't know whether you can see it there, but the post in the middle there is in an hourglass shape. Okay, so stainless steel, beautiful little thing. So that's the first thing that he sent me. And then the second thing that he sent up to me, and these are just on loan, by the way, as well. They have to go back to him, because if not, he's sending an army after me, I think. So the second is this here, which is the Hellfire Dripper, which again, beautifully made little thing. So the first one I'm going to do is the Hellfire Mini. And this came to me from Neill with stainless steel rope in it. Okay, so I know that that works well already, and basically it's stainless steel rope with a mesh sleeve that goes onto the top of it. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do a mesh wick right from the start, because you know, that is what I did in the past. It'd be interesting for me to see if I can, you know, still do it. and also then what the results will be, because there's no question about this as an atomizer. This is absolutely top of the range, you know, and is shouted from the rooftops by many people as being one of the best out there. So if it's not really working for me, then I think, you know, I'm just going to have to blame myself on it. But I do want to go through the process. And what I will also try and do is try and keep this video reasonably short, because I know I do tend to sort of prattle on about stuff. So anyway, let's go down close, break these things down, have a look at them, and then see if we can make a coil that actually works. Here it is, up nice and close. Beautifully made piece. As I said, this has got a real reputation, and for good reason. As I said as well, I haven't actually tried it yet, but when you look at the quality of how it's been made, the turning, everything, it just looks absolutely top class. So let's take it apart. There's our cap at the top. Nice bit of weight to it, really nice piece of steel. Put that down. Then we have our deck here. Again, as I said before, just options to actually put in dual coils into it. And let's screw this off here. Nice O-ring there as well, for which makes the top sit on it very neatly and very tightly. So let's put this down here for the moment. So here's our deck, looking at it nice and close, if you can get a bit of focus. And then from the underside, and you can see there's an O-ring in there at the moment, which obviously sits on top of what looks to me like a Pyrex tank. So we can put that one down there. Actually, just thinking about it, I don't think it is Pyrex. I think it's some sort of polycarbonate. In fact, it definitely is some sort of polycarbonate. Now, whether or not there's the option to get a glass tank for it, I don't know. But that is definitely polycarbonate, but is very thick walled, you can see there. So then if we look down into this piece here, we can see that, well, there's an O-ring at the bottom, which is obviously where the tank is sitting down onto. We've got our central piece here. We've got an O-ring at this point here. And then if we look at the bottom of it, there's our connector in the middle, and at the end there. But if you look at the 510 threading here, that is all part of one piece. That hasn't been sort of press fit into it. That looks to me as though it's all made out of one piece of metal, which is a bit of an achievement. So again, really nicely done. And then at the top here, we've got our little twisty knurled piece, and this is for actually capturing the wire into the top of the post there. So that's basically what it looks like. Put it back together quickly. Make sure that there's the O-ring in the bottom there, which there is. The O-ring is in the bottom of this here as well, so we can pop that in, and this threading here is going to thread into this threading here to screw the whole thing down. So nice and tightly put that back together like that, and then put the top back on. So simple in construction, beautifully well made though. So next thing we'll try and do with this is make a coil. Just before I go ahead and make a coil for this, just to give you some sizes on it, from the top to the base here, not including the 510 connection, is 48, just over 48 millimeters in length, and then width-wise it is a 16 millimeters wide. So that's our sizes. Okay, to make this this mesh wick, I'm going to use some mesh here. Now I've cut this to 4 centimeters by 2 centimeters. So basically 4 centimeters long, that's going to be the height of it, and then 2 centimeters, but we have to wrap it up. I'm going to be using 0.2 Canthal, Canthal D, and then this is just of use to do a little bit of burning with, and this is what I'm going to be doing the actual burning with. Okay, well, the first thing we want to do is, obviously we're going to be trying to get this mesh wick into this little hole here. And then we're going to be putting our wire up around the mesh and then connecting it up to this here. Now obviously mesh, what needs to be done with that is it needs to actually be oxidized, so it needs to be burned quite a bit beforehand so that you don't end up getting shorting and stuff like that. So I'm going to put a little fold on the leading edge of this, and this just helps stop it fraying, because after all this is woven, and when you're burning it quite a bit, what can happen is that you end up getting on one of the edges, which is going to be the outside edge of your little straw that you make, it can get quite hairy, which isn't a good thing. So first thing to do, just bend that over like that, get a good sharp line on it. So this is now going to become the outside, the leading edge if you like. So then all we need to do is just turn it over and start the wrapping process. Now, for anybody who used to roll cigarettes in their past, this is reasonably easy to do. Essentially all you need to do is just get the thing rolling, and then what you're going to do is keep rolling it in the one direction to make it to the size that is actually wanted. Okay, so let's just roll this down, because it is going to need to go down to quite a thin straw to actually get into this little hole. So let's just roll it down, keep compressing it as you're doing it. Now don't overdo it, because if you make it too thin, that isn't good either. So there we are at the moment. Let's see what that is like. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to test it in it first, just to see if it's around the right size before I start burning it. And no, we need to go smaller again. So let's just keep going at it. And I would imagine that we're probably getting close to it there. Let's pop it in, and yes, that goes in perfectly. Again, with these things, you don't want them to be too tight and you don't want them to be too loose, because after all, you know, that the liquid is going to be working its way up through this straw to be actually vaporized up here. So that would appear to be about right size wise. So then I'm simply just going to get a, well, you can use a pin, you can use whatever you want, and what we now need to do is to oxidize this mesh, and you do that basically by burning it. And what you want to do is give it a really good going over. Just be careful as ever that the heat doesn't end up running down the wire and burning you on the finger. Now what some people will do is they will heat it up, they will then put it into water to cool it down very quickly, and then they'll heat it up again and they'll repeat that a few times. In this case now I am just going to go this way, but I'm just going to give it a really thorough burning to make sure that it's completely oxidized. And I think we're close to being ready now. Okay, now the next thing I'm going to do is, as you can see there, it's turned black, if you can see it. It's turned a different colour, it's gone sort of blackish. So the next thing I'm going to do is just sort of prime the wick, if you like. Now this is the liquid that I'm using, which I always end up using with these things, cigarellos. So I'm just going to basically put some of this onto the wick, just get it in there like that. And you can see how quickly it absorbs it up. You know, mesh is really, really good at taking liquid in. So there we go, that's pretty much doused in it. So then I'm going to just, if I can start this thing off one-handed. Basically what I'm going to do is I'm just going to light that, like that. And that's it. So that should be all ready and all good to actually go into the atomizer. Okay, so we have our little mesh straw made. Let's come a little bit closer. Here it is, and it's all been oxidized and looking good. And here is, we're going to actually use this little hole here to actually put the mesh into. And then this is where we're going to be putting our wire on here. So let's just slot this in and hope that it still fits in. And there it is. That works absolutely perfectly. Now, I'm not going to go down to the very bottom. I'll leave it something like that there. So the next phase is to put on some wire and see how that works. Right, I'm going to be using a 0.2 Canthal wire, so if I can pick it up, here it is. Now this has been flamed as usual with a blowtorch just to sort of take the tension out of it. So first thing we need to do is essentially capture it under this particular screw here. Okay, so let's just pop this in. Okay, the easiest way to do this is really to just basically bring it, because you want it to get under it properly. So if you start your wire over the far side and then just hook it in like that. So that means that then, you know, you're getting it nice and tightly underneath that particular screw there. So let's just tighten that up a little bit. Okay, so that's looking good. Let's just tighten it a wee bit more. So there you go. So now what we need to do is basically wrap this wire here around this. So let's start with the first one. And as I said, I haven't been doing these sort of atomizers in a long, long time. So this is all new to me. Now, in putting the loops on, I'm not going to get worried about how pretty they look and how even they are at the moment, because we can sort that out afterwards. But that's basically what I'm looking for there. So I've got 4 loops, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring that across and then bring it underneath this screw here like that. Okay. And then all I need to do is actually screw that down, if you can see what I'm doing. Okay. So that is what I'm left with there. So this caught underneath this screw, and that screw looks like it needs a bit more tightening. And then this running up onto the mesh wick, up to the top, and then underneath this knurled piece here at the top. Let's make sure that that's nicely tightened there as well. Which it is. Okay, so next thing, just get rid of the excess wire. And let's see what we're going to fire this one up on. Okay, I've just stuck this onto a mod just to see how we're doing, and let's have a quick look here, see if you can see what's going on. We seem to be a little bit hot at the top there. So I'm just going to rearrange them slightly, see if we can calm that top one down a little bit. So just move them a little bit. Move this up here. Now what's happening? That's a bit better. Let's have a look. So if I just pulse it for a while, they should all end up being reasonably even in terms of their glowing. Well, not being a Genesis expert, to me that looks pretty good. The bottom one seems to be a little bit weak, but I think I'm just going to go ahead and see what see how it vapes on the basis of that. Now, just before I do, you can see at the top here that the post is, the wick is a little bit high. So I'm just going to cut that off with a big toe clippers here. And yeah, I think we're okay with that now. What I might do is just, I don't know whether it makes any difference at all, is just pinch it back in just a wee bit here to its sort of straw shape. Now we still, yeah, I think that's looking pretty good. Okay, and just before filling it up completely, I've just basically put some bit of juice onto the mesh there, and you can see it's going absolutely nuts there. I just checked what the ohms were on this as well, and it's coming out at 2 ohms is what we have. So let's just put some juice into this. Very, very easy to fill, especially if you've got a bottle that shape. And what we want to do is just make sure that the juice is well soaking into the mesh there. What are we looking like here? Yeah, it's looking like it's going okay. Right, well, I'll just put the top on it and we'll have a see what it vapes like. Okay, so I've popped this onto my new brass Nemesis. It looks a little bit strange on it because obviously this is really quite small on the top here. I think it was 16, did I say? And then it's sitting on a much bigger mod. Drip tip, this is a old Sam drip tip, so let's pop this onto it and see what this little creation, my little mesh coil, is going to be like in the Hellfire Mini. That is really, really, really nice. Now what I'm doing is I'm using my normal liquid, which is El Toro Cigarillos. So I know what it tastes like and everything else. It's my daily vape, my all day vape. And I have to say, it is absolutely stunning in this. This opens up a can of worms for me because I just avoided Genesis atomizers for the last quite a while after my sort of bad experiences in the past. But after trying something like this, I can see why everybody goes on about them. This is absolutely gorgeous. I also use, drippers and stuff like that. But I'd have to say this is, in terms of flavour of this particular liquid, this has to be one of the nicest tasting things that I've had it in. It's absolutely gorgeous. The draw on this is a very, very small hole. I'm not sure what size of the air hole is in this. So the draw on it is reasonably tight. And I'm sure that can be drilled out. I wouldn't drill it out. Well, for a start, if I did, I'd be killed by the guy who owns this. but it doesn't need drilling out anyway. As far as I'm concerned, it's a fairly tightish straw, but when you are actually drawing on it, you know, you really feel the flavour just pouring out of it into your mouth. Not much more I can say really, other than the fact that unfortunately it's not mine. It has been lent to me by Neill O'Connor, and fair play to him for lending it to me. And yeah, as a sort of almost like a first experience of a Genesis atomizer, because it is so long since I've actually used them, I have to say. Now, how much of it is to do with the fact that it's a Hellfire? Probably quite a lot, because they have such huge reputation. You know, but all I can say is that the outcome, ultimately the vape coming out of it, is absolutely extraordinary. I mean, it's just... I'm going to shut up. The Hellfire Mini, thank you very much for the loan of it to Neill. It is a fantastic machine. I think it can be got on Vape Pit, but only occasionally. It's a handmade piece, so he's only making, you know, a certain number of them. You have to get onto a list. I'm not quite sure how much they cost. If I find out, I will stick it up on the description on this video. But basically all I can say is, if you can get hold of one of these things at a reasonable price, then certainly consider it, because it is absolutely fantastic. Cheers.